Hello, today we will recap a thriller drama film from 2019, titled Parasite. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. The Kim family struggles to survive in a small semi-basement apartment in Seoul. Father John, mother Mary, daughter Alice, and son Jack struggle to make ends meet, while folding pizza boxes for a small amount of money. This drives them to go as far as placing their phones next to the bathroom window to steal Wi-Fi, or leaving their windows open, to allow the fumigator's poison smoke to enter the house and kill the bugs. Min-Hyuk, a friend of Jack's, pays them a visit one evening, and brings them a scholar's rock from his grandfather's collection, which is meant to be an amulet for wealth. He also brings Jack a job opportunity, because Min-Hyuk will be traveling abroad soon. He wants Jack to take over his tutoring of a wealthy family's daughter. Jack goes to the Park family's house in the fancy part of town, wearing his best clothes and holding the forged document. After he is allowed inside by the housekeeper Elizabeth, he's interviewed by Mrs. Park. She barely looks at the paperwork and believes Min-Hyuk, but she wants to sit through the first lesson, to see if Jack is a good tutor. Jack will be teaching her daughter Kat, who is initially shy and is startled when Jack abruptly grabs her wrist. However, because it is only a gesture to comfort her, when she is having difficulty understanding the exercise, she quickly warms up to him. Mrs. Park is pleased with what she has seen, so she hires Jack and pays him well. He also gets to meet her son, Mike, after the first class. Mrs. Park shows him her son's drawings, which sparks an idea in Jack. When Mrs. Park mentions that she needs a new art teacher, because none of the previous ones lasted more than a month, Jack recommends his cousin's classmate Jessica, a highly qualified art therapist. In reality, he's talking about his sister, who also shows up for an interview the next day, pretending to be Jessica, after having just read some articles about art therapy and psychology online. While Mrs. Park is speaking with her, Jack tutors Kat, who is envious of Jack's friendship with the art teacher. Jack assures her that he is not interested in her, then the two of them kiss. Mrs. Park hires Alice, on the basis that her son requires art therapy. Later that day, she meets Mr. Park, the family's father, who offers his driver Yoon to drive her home. Yoon insists on taking her to her house, but she wants to keep the lie going, by concealing the fact that she lives in a poor neighborhood. She requests that he drop her off at the train station, because she's meeting someone. During the journey, Alice gets an idea, and pulls out her panties to hide them in the car. While planning their next move, the Kim family starts eating better thanks to their children's new salaries. Meanwhile, Mr. Park discovers the panties in the car, and suspects Yoon of taking lovers in it. Mrs. Park uses the opportunity to ask Alice about the driver, when she leaves after class. So she tells her about how Yoon tried to take her home instead of the station. Mrs. Park decides to fire Yoon to avoid a scandal, and Alice steps in, saying a mature employee is more trustworthy, before recommending her uncle's old driver. Of course, this man is John, who used to work as a driver when he was younger. He goes for a test drive with Mr. Park, who is impressed by his good manners and extensive knowledge of the city, which does not require GPS. Mr. Park hires him on the spot, because his driving is so smooth, that he doesn't even spill his drink when the car turns. The final stage of the plan is the most difficult. Elizabeth is a resourceful, cunning woman, who has worked in that house since it was owned by another family. Jae-il finds out from Kat that peaches are forbidden in the house, because Elizabeth is allergic to them. So he and Alice start throwing peach fuzz at her when she isn't looking. Elizabeth goes to the doctor for a checkup, because she doesn't think it's allergies, and John joins her as part of the plan. He takes a selfie with Elizabeth in the background, and shows it to Mrs. Park, telling her he overheard her say she has tuberculosis. When Elizabeth starts coughing due to her allergies at home, he puts some ketchup on the tissues in the trash, to make it look like she coughed up blood. Mrs. Park, embarrassed to have a sick employee in the house, makes John promise not to tell her husband about it, then fires Elizabeth under some convenient excuse, telling Mr. Park she quit. Mr. Park becomes concerned about the house's lack of cooking and cleaning. So John hands him the business card of a prestigious agency which provide housekeepers. Mary is eventually hired as the new housekeeper, and the entire Kim family joins. Mike notices that they all smell the same, but it's not the soap, it's the smell of their old, run-down apartment. The Parks go on a camping trip one day, leaving Mary to look after the house. When they leave, the entire Kim family comes over to stay for a while. They use every room, eat every meal, drink every expensive wine, and Jack even steals Kat's diary to read, because he wants to propose to her when she starts university. Someone rings the doorbell unexpectedly. It's Elizabeth, who claims she forgot something in the basement when she was fired, and left in a hurry. Mary lets her in while her family hides. But Elizabeth is taking too long down there, so Mary goes to investigate. She discovers Elizabeth attempting to move a cupboard and assists her, revealing a door behind it that leads to an underground bunker, built by the architect and previous homeowner. Kevin, Elizabeth's husband, has been hiding from loan sharks for years. When the previous owner left, and the house was up for sale, Elizabeth assisted him in moving there, and the Parks were unaware of the bunker. She came today, because she knew the Parks would be gone. And she wanted to speak with Mary alone, asking for permission for her husband to continue living down there, even offering to pay her for bringing him food. Mary refuses to accept this, and pulls out her phone to call the police, but her family falls down the stairs while trying to spy on them. Elizabeth doesn't waste any time, and records them with her phone, capturing in the clip the fact that they refer to each other by family names. Elizabeth and her husband now have command of the situation, threatening to reveal their ruse to the Parks if the Kims do not comply. They all go upstairs, where the Kims are forced to crouch in a corner, while Elizabeth and Kevin enjoy the house. Elizabeth even chastises them for being pigs, and causing a total mess in the living room. While she's giving them such a speech, the Kims seize the opportunity to tackle the couch, and wrestle the couple on the ground for the phone. While Jack takes the phone to delete the recording, John grabs Kevin, and Alice drops a bunch of peaches on Elizabeth to knock her out. When the phone rings in the house, everyone comes to a halt. Mary picks it up, and is surprised to hear Mrs. Park ask her to prepare dinner, because they'll be returning earlier, because the storm has made it impossible to continue the camping trip. As soon as she hangs up, the entire family goes into action. Mary starts cooking, John takes Kevin to the basement and ties him up, Alice hides the trash under the furniture. And after taking an unconscious Elizabeth to the basement too, Jack goes upstairs to return the diary. When the Parks return, Jack hides under Kat's bed, and Alice rolls under the table. Elizabeth awakens and attempts to flee, but Mary shoves her back into the basement, causing her to fall and hit her head. John drags her unconscious body to her husband, banging his head against the light switches, and following a Morse code guide he's pinned to the wall. Since Mike is a scout, he will see his message one day. But John finds the idea ridiculous, ties him to a pipe and leaves. Mrs. Park tells Mary about Mike's traumatic first-grade experience, while they are eating dinner upstairs. One night, the boy sneaked into the kitchen to steal his birthday cake, when he noticed a ghost coming from the basement, who was actually Kevin. This caused him to have convulsions and foam at the mouth, which is why he's been in therapy ever since. The Kims leave their house, and run through the rain toward their neighborhood, which is being flooded by sewer water. Their apartment is also flooded. So they gather as many belongings as they can, before heading to a nearby gymnasium to spend the night. Back in the bunker, Elizabeth dies from the concussion she received earlier. Kevin tries to send a Morse code message, asking for help using the lights. Kevin isn't in the right frame of mind to spell correctly, and the result is a bloody forehead. The next day, Mrs. Park decides to throw an impromptu party for Mike's birthday, and the Kims must put on their best friendly faces, even though they are devastated after losing their home. Mary has to cook and set up the tables outside, while John has to drive the parents around, to get all the party supplies, while they make faces at his smell. The siblings must put on their smart teacher personas, because they have been invited as very important guests to the party. After spending some time with Kat, Jack takes the scholar's rock and goes down to the basement, where he is jumped on by Kevin, who has somehow managed to free himself. After stopping him from fleeing with a cord around Jack's neck, Kevin knocks him out with the rock. He then exits the bunker and heads to the garden party, while grabbing a knife from the kitchen. Seeking to avenge Elizabeth, Kevin runs out and stabs Alice. As soon as Mike sees him, he starts having a seizure. Kat finds Jack's body, and carries him outside to call for aid. John tries to save her daughter, while attempting to keep a hand on the girl's wound to stop the bleeding. While Mary jumps on Kevin, and kills him with a barbecue skewer. Mr. Park asks John to drive him to the hospital, because he doesn't care about any of his workers, and only wants to take his son there. But John throws the keys at him so he can drive himself, because he doesn't want to leave his family behind. Kevin falls on top of the keys as they fall to the grass. Mr. Park goes to get them, but even in such a terrible situation, he covers his nose while moving the body. Enraged by such heinous behavior, John takes the knife and murders Mr. Park before fleeing the scene. Jack awakens from brain surgery several weeks later. Because the injury and procedure have left his mind in a fragile state, he can't help but laugh through everything that happens to him, including learning that his sister is dead, and his father is missing. They get arrested, put on trial for fraud, and allowed to leave on probation, because of the traumatic incident for which they are not charged, because it was in self-defense. He only stops laughing, when he sees the news report of the now empty house, which makes everything that happened seem more real. He and his mother have no idea where his father is, but the detectives continue to follow them, in the hope that they will lead them to him. Months later, Jack goes up the mountain and spies on the Park's house, which is now occupied by a German family, who purchased it unaware of its history. There, Jack notices someone using the lights to send a Morse code message. It's his father, who has been hiding in the house bunker all this time. He has buried Elizabeth in the backyard, and survives by raiding the kitchen every night. He also sends Morse messages every day, in the hopes that his son will see them one day. Back at his old apartment, Jack writes a letter to his father, promising to work hard and save enough money to buy the house, and reunite with him one day. So this was the story of the film Parasite, released in 2019. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.